Hi everybody, it's Sweetsa here at Emanate. Welcome back to another Mindful Monday. Today's topic is stress. So researchers tell us it's estimated that your brain manages over 99% of its input in a completely automatic way. So it's really below the level of consciousness where we get up in our routine and we know we brush our teeth, go to work, drive our car, and these are things that we're not thinking about. It's automatic. So what it really means is that we have actually a schema, an existing map in our head of the way that things work for our lives. And so when things are really going that way, it's our prefrontal cortex, which is really our rational brain, our front of the brain. It's where the good stuff is. It's where we, time management, prioritize. It gives us the ability to manage our emotions and really have empathy for others. So it's also part of the brain that depletes because it uses glucose and oxygen. So what ends up happening is, for the most part, again, we're going through our lives with our existing map, and something throws us a curve, right? Something uncertain or unpredictable. And that's usually when our amygdala, so it's our fight, flight, and freeze mechanism, so where it gets decided where something is a threat to our existence. So what ends up happening, though, is when there's an increased level of uncertainty and unpredictability, and it goes on for too long, there's this idea of that chronic stress, right? Where really your prefrontal cortex is not functioning anymore, and you're really at this point of feeling like you're in your emotional brain or you're in survival brain, right? You're functioning out of a place of depletion. Continuous chronic stress is actually terrible for us. So it can cause changes to the brain and actually weaken the prefrontal cortex. It can actually cause continuous amygdala hijacks where there's a cognitive slowing of the brain, and you're more likely to have emotional outbursts towards people you care about, or even just in general to yourself. If you have chronic stress for a long period of time, it can actually cause memory loss. So it's this idea of not wanting too much stress. But in order to function, we actually do need some type of stress. There is what's called the optimal arousal curve, and it really talks about where if folks are under stress, so they're not getting enough stress, they can actually be distracted, disorganized, and really underperform, right? It's not enough skip in their step to do anything. And then if someone is overstressed, they lose focus, they react emotionally, they also can lose productivity because they're overstressed and not able to regulate themselves enough to get anything done. So this optimal arousal curve really talks about this idea of the optimal amount of stress that one person needs to perform at their level of flow. So it's really where your prefrontal cortex is functioning well. So it's really like the saying of Goldilocks and the Three Bears, right? It's not too hot, it's not too cold, it's just right. And that's what really the optimal arousal curve represents. So it's really this idea of finding out the amount of stress that you need to perform at the level that it's really flowing for you, right? Time stands still, you could do it for days. So the thing to remember is that not everyone requires the same level of stress to reach their optimal level of performance. So we all have a different threshold. So some people respond really well to deadlines and doing things the night before. Some people like jobs like an EMT or an ER doctor, right? Because they need that kind of increased level of stress to perform their best, while others really need one task at a time because that's the only amount of stress that they can take in order to reach their optimal level of performance. So it's really important to bring a level of awareness to the level of stress that you can tolerate and really the conditions that you have been under where you have been at your optimal level of performance, and how did you get there? What kind of stress helped with that? And then in addition to that is really not judging someone else for their threshold because, again, not everyone functions the same way. So I hope that helps. Emanate your best selves. Till next time.